Hey guys, it's Goat's Queen. We're here. We're in a new decade. It's 2020. I can't believe it. I don't know about the rest of you, but I, for one, never thought I would live this long. So we made it. We're here. It's a whole new decade, a fresh start. It's January 1st. Now, I actually went to sleep for a little bit in the night last night, and I woke up at like, I don't know, it was like 6 a.m. It was still dark out, but I woke to the most beautiful sunrise I think I've ever seen in my entire life. And I went outside with my phone and started taking some pictures. And as I watched, it was like the whole sky was on fire. It was beautiful. But what a herald of the coming dawn. I mean, it was such a good sign. It was such a great, fantastic way to start the new year. Now, if you've ever photographed sunrises before, of which I have photographed many, pause.
Look at that. That's a picture unfiltered. There's no filters or anything on that picture. All that is just the camera, normal settings, whatever settings she had, snapped at the sky. Amazing. Doesn't it look like the sky's on fire?
It really was incredible. And if you've ever photographed sunrises before, they happen very quickly. Okay, so it's like I went out there and I was like, wow, this is looking really pretty. And then like within a minute, I'm like, wow, this is looking really pretty. And then it was like, boom. And then just like that, it was over. It had passed. The moment had passed. And I love metaphors, and I think it was a good metaphor for 2020, for the new year, for the new decade ahead. You have to live in the moment, and you have to appreciate the moment, and you have to seize the moment. Seize the day, people. Don't wait to do the things that you want to do. Do them now. You know, start today. Even if it's just a little tiny thing, start today. You can make your dreams come true. Do it, people. Don't wait. So that's my advice. Hi, guys. Let me say hi to everybody. I haven't said hi to anybody yet. So, I see my mods are here. Love you, girls. Hi, Mary. Hi, Dreama. What are you showing me now? Hi, John. Hi, Charmy. Hi, my baby love, Wayne. Hi to everybody. If I'm missing anybody, I'm sorry. So, a couple things I want to talk about today. I'm not doing the Sims case today. Today's January 1st. We're going to have that wait. Today is going to be a talk about the new year ahead. I am going to pour myself a glass of champagne. We have some champagne left. No, we didn't drink it all. Look what I did for a stopper. How's that for a good idea?
Yeah, I have some of that
A little corn cob. You know, that's one of the things you put in the end of the corn cob. You have to be resourceful. If you don't have everything you need, oh my God, I think I'm going to need my strong man. Honey, I think that's too strong, too tight for me.
Yeah, I stuck it in there pretty good. That's not what he said.
So,
You heard that? When it came out, it was,
it's the start of a new year.
should,
New decade.
should still be super
The
far.
skins of time are flowing by. So, we're finishing off the champagne to toast in the new year. Lovey, it's here when you're ready. No, it's still over there.
Okay.
So, cheers, everyone. And one of the things I was going to mention today, too, is the blessing of a witch. Don't take that lightly. If a witch is blessing you, accept that with, you know, some graciousness, because it really is a blessing. And you should take it seriously. Happy New Year. So, it's going to be a good year. I can feel it. And
It's even better today.
it is even better today. It tastes
Yeah,
fabulous.
it's really good.
It's such a good champagne.
Yeah, it's better today. I don't know why, but it tastes better today.
Cleanses the palate. So, I want to talk about something I saw today, which is Jeffree Star's new video, where he shows off his new home. It's like a palace. It's like a castle in the sky. And I watched it. It was funny. There were a lot of little funny tidbits throughout, a lot of little funny quotes. Now, I had seen an article someone wrote of when he was, and I don't even remember who, I'll find it afterwards and I'll put a link in the description. But basically, when it got out that he was moving and that he had purchased a new home, one outlet did write an article about him, and it was really nasty. It was just like nasty, nasty, talking about how he has no friends and, you know, how awful he is, how he's ruined the beauty industry, and, you know, it really just had nothing good to say. I disagree. I love Jeffree Star. I think he's fantastic. And I think he has changed a lot of things. And the thing is that when you are a person who does that and who creates that kind of change and then who becomes successful, you are going to have a lot of haters who are green, literally green with envy. So, you know, I saw him tweet at the beginning of the year, or at the end of the year rather. He was wearing like all blue in a blue tracksuit with a blue wig and a blue tracksuit and like makeup and the whole thing. It should have been green, darling, because that's what all your enemies are. It's just green with envy. And envy is not a pretty thing. It's ugly. It's ugly to see in other people. And so this isn't a prediction, but this is my hope for the new year, is that people can become a little bit more gracious, you know, and perhaps celebrate other people's success. Because lying in that negative space where you are just hating on someone because you're envious, because you're resentful, because they have something you wish you had, it will never serve you well. It will only keep you down in a negative space where you're not going to gain anything and you're going to attract more negative things. So, yeah, green. That's the color for today. I've got a little green popper, and this time I'm going to warn you all, loud noise coming. Get ready. Take the headphones off. Here we go. For the new year. Woo! And that was a loud one. Green. Don't be green with envy. Celebrate other people's success. Learn from them, perhaps. You know, there's way too many nasty people out there. So, yeah, the video was really funny. You should give it a watch if you haven't seen it. He does a walkthrough of his new home. It is beautiful. And there were things that he said throughout the video I picked up on. There were a lot of funny things. It made me laugh. And the home is gorgeous. It's beautiful. I love the huge staircase. It's just so, you know, gone with the wind. Love it. And certainly has a lot of space now. And, you know, he's gotten a lot of criticism, a lot of negativity thrown his way. I think him moving from the old pink Barbie house to the new, more sophisticated home is apropos. I think it just shows his growth. Now, you have to remember, and he did talk about this in his video, 6 years ago, that man had $500 to his name and lived in a little shitty one-bedroom apartment. And look where he is now. And he is self-made. He did do it himself. Okay? He climbed to the top. And you can knock him all you want, but let's face it, the guy did what he wanted to do, and he made a ton of money doing it. And he's very successful. I doubt there's anyone who doesn't know who he is at this point. Why criticize? Maybe learn. And he started a lot of trends, you know. I think he took what all, or not all, I shouldn't say all, but what many women like and adore, and even if it's secretly, he sort of took what a lot of women would like to do, and, you know, he created it. He turned it into a dream for himself that he made real. He literally, like, took the pink walls of a lot of us girls' bedroom and brought it to life. And the whole, you know, the whole image, the dream. You can knock Jeffree Star, but what he has done is he has made the American dream into his own reality. And I just can't criticize that. Sorry, I can't. So, yeah, I think it's impressive what he's done. And, all right, so let's get into some predictions for 2020. This is what I think we're going to see this year. Trends. I love trends. I do think neon is going to be hot. It's the year of the neon and the bright colors. So I think you're going to see a lot of that. That whole signature color thing that I've been talking about with Dark Star, that's going to be very in. Picking a color, having it be your signature color, and then surrounding yourself with it. Mine's been purple. I'm branching out a little now. I'm getting into the pink too. But what other colors do I love? There's certain colors that work for me. I'm all about the metallics. You know, Jeffree Star was talking about black and gold. I've worn black my whole life. I mean, I'm a girl of blue black. That is just how it is. And lucky for me, black is slimming. It makes you look good. So yeah, I think black and metallics, you know, are going to be very big still. I always think they've been big. I'm all about black and the metallics, always have been. But I think that's going to continue to be big. I think we're going to still see the metallics looking very big. Signature colors. I think that also for trends, you're going to see people doing all one color, you know, but maybe in different shades. That's going to be a big thing. So, you know, like he did for that first, you know, picture, his first look of the new year, he said, and he was all in light blue. Excuse me, light blue makeup, light blue clothes. I think a light blue wig, I think that's going to be a big thing, where it's all one color but different shades, but putting it all together. Wigs. I think wigs, this is going to become more and more popular of a trend. That whole drag look in general has really exploded, and I think it's going to continue to do so. Now, as far as fashion, I think that a look that I loved, and it does return me to my youth, where this is back from the 80s. I can remember late 80s. I was on my way to a club in Boston, the Bat Cave. I was wearing a black tutu with a cropped linen shirt that a friend of mine who was a clothes designer had made, and it had one of those high collars, so it was very evil queenish. And I was carrying one single white calla lily. But that whole look of the evil queen which I'm sort of sporting tonight, is still going to be big. But also another look from that period, which I was very big with, which would have been the business suit, like a black suit coat with a lace bra. I think that whole thing is going to be back in. I think there's going to be a little bit more masculine in women's fashions this year, so you're going to see a lot of looks with the suit type of look. You know, more sophisticated. I think we're going to get a little bit away from the girly this year and more into sophistication. And I think Jeffree Star's got his finger on the pulse, as always, and he's headed in that direction. So, yeah, I think that's going to be some trends with fashion. You know, and that video we saw from, what's her name? Onision's ex-flame, Shiloh, and she's renamed herself Lil Doll. Everything you see in that video, very hot, and I think that is a good precursor of the year ahead as far as like what's trendy and what's fashionable. A lot more Japanese fashion, I think, is going to be seeping into the American mainstream. So keep your eyes on Japan. Watch what they're doing. Whatever they are doing, I think will be very hot here. Yeah, I think that you're going to see a lot more with AI this year, a lot more with technology. I think it's going to explode in 2020. We're going to see a lot more new devices, a lot more virtual reality. You know, I would suspect that this may be the year that opens its first brothel, legal brothel, with sex dolls. Watch, it's coming. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I'm not going to get into that today, but it's coming. Trust me. So, yeah, I think there's going to be, you know, technology is really going to explode this year, and it's going to be huge. Now, what is that going to create in us? And this is another thing I saw in Jeffree Star's video today, and it was just so apropos. He lost his phone in his new mansion, and he was panicking, clearly, because you could see how stressed and riddled with anxiety Shane was, because he was reacting to Jeffree's anxiety over losing his phone, okay? We all know what that feels like when you go into a panic because you've lost your phone and you cannot find it. I think the addiction we have to technology is going to sort of force us all into taking very deliberate breaks from it. So I think you're going to see a trend in sort of retreats that pop up. Now, it reminds me a little bit of Club Med. If you've ever been to Club Med, and I have, they have a policy there, whereas there's no money allowed throughout the club and no technology, you know, so you don't have TVs in the rooms and things like that. And for money, they use beads. It's very fun. But what they're trying to do is to encourage people to actually, the rooms aren't opulent. They don't want you to stay in your room. They want you to get out and participate in the activities. So, you know, TVs aren't encouraged. Staying in the room isn't encouraged. They want you out water skiing and jet skiing and doing all the fun events that they have and activities that they have at Club Med. And they don't want you worrying about money or thinking about money. So in order to get drinks or food or whatnot, you use beads. And they make it a very fun sort of atmosphere. And this is so that, you know, businessmen who come there with their families, who have very high-pressure jobs and are constantly stressed, they can get away from all that and relax and have fun. And that's what they're there to do. Well, I think there's going to be more sort of retreats that will be popping up that will be a place to go and get away from it all. And it will be discouraged to have, you know, a phone or a computer while you're at these places, and perhaps not even allowed. Because it's going to get to the point where we will literally have to be forced to let go of things like our phones and stuff like that to get back into nature. So programs like Outward Bound and, you know, all these sort of things that get you back into nature, back into the wild, away from the devices, I think we're going to see an explosion with these types of places.
That's what Tool does. Tool, when they go on, like in playing concert on tour, they banish any electronic devices from being brought into the show. You can't bring a phone, camera, nothing. And they do that so that people will focus on the show and enjoy the show instead of seeing, because I mean, a lot of concerts you go to now, you just see like 50,000 cell phones up in the air the whole time recording, and nobody, you know, pays any attention to the show. So Tool, they're like, you get caught with a phone or something in there, they'll just toss you right out.
Right, and I think, you know, all right, we've become so, we are the Insta culture, you know. I'm just as bad. I'm a social media maven, and I love it. And, you know, I'll photograph my bloody latte every morning and post it, you know, because I'm so impressed with my little, you know, frothy clouds. But this is who we've become. And I think it leads to us forgetting how to be in the moment and how to experience the moment. It's like we cannot live the moment unless we have proof of it. And I think it's going to be more and more encouragement to get away from that. And, you know, it's going to be trying to push people in a direction where you can have fun and there can be no photographs, and it really did happen. And you really did enjoy yourself. And, you know, sort of encouraging you to sort of just keep those memories in your mind. And if that's the only place that they are, it doesn't mean they're less special. Okay? As we get more and more attached to our technology, we are going to need bigger and bigger ways to get us away from it. And so I think there's going to be a lot of retreats popping up where you go and there's going to be no technology allowed, and you're going to be encouraged to just be quiet. Jeffree Star said something in his video. He was talking about one of the rooms being like the Zen room, and he was like talking about how he was so shook in the Zen room, and I was laughing at the contradiction. You know, a Zen room is about peace and meditation and quiet and quieting the monkey minds, but he's talking about being shook. And it's perfect. It sort of describes who we all are right now. You know, I can't put down the phone to read a bloody book. And I'm talking about wanting to get back on the mat and back, you know, and meditate more and all these things. But, you know, I'm giving myself a break and I'm forgiving myself because this is who we have become. You know, we sleep with I mean, who in here doesn't sleep with the phone in their bed or next to the bed? Tell me. Do any of you do that? I doubt it. We are very attached to our phones. And while it has brought a lot of good things, I think it's brought some negative as well. And I think it's going to get harder and harder for people to quiet the monkey mind and to be able to fall asleep without the aid of anything. And I think it's going to be harder and harder and harder to find some quiet in this world. And I'll tell you what, we all need some quiet in this world. It's a very busy world, and it's filled with stuff and information and just, you know, you're being bombarded on a daily basis with messages and ideas, and just all sorts of input is being just thrown at you, and it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. And everybody needs to take a time out to find some quiet and some peace. and to just sit. I think we're going to see anxiety rising for people. I think anxiety is going to become a bigger and bigger problem for people, and it's because we are all going to forget how to be able to sit still and quiet with ourselves. It's not easy when you're used to constant input. So, these are some of the things that I think are going to be happening for 2020. These are some of the issues I think we're going to be dealing with. I think it is going to get harder and harder for people to just sit with themselves and be quiet and be at peace and be satisfied and happy with themselves. I think that while a drive for more and ambition and all of that can be a really good thing, I also think you need to, on the regular, stop and smell the roses on the path exactly where you're at. So, yeah. I think I will be talking a lot about meditation in 2020 and nature and how to break away from the technology and how to find some peace in your life and how to be okay with yourself and who you are and how to love yourself. Here's another trend I see, and this trend I really like. I think we're going to start getting away from the anorexic 90-pound soaking wet supermodel look as being, what women should attain, strive toward. I think we're going to see a little bit more of Marilyn Monroe coming back. The curves, the womanly curves. And let's face it, that's being a woman. I mean, it's being a woman, that motherly look. We all need to breastfeed if we're going to have children, and, this whole thing. That sort of boyish, just no curves, Jello Biafra, skinny, too skinny, that look I think is starting to fade out. And the curvy, sexy woman, Marilyn Monroe, skirts blowing over the the grate in the city, that whole look is coming back a little bit. And I like it. I like it a lot because no one should be starving themselves to try to feel sexy. No, 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 no. Eat. We need to eat to survive. Okay? I think you're going to see the movie star mole, I call it, and I was blessed to have been born with one, coming back in. So less of the freckles, which was a big thing, sort of painting on the little freckles, less of that, more of this. So I think you'll see people placing them. Yeah, that whole look, that Marilyn Monroe, sexy, voluptuous, I think that's going to be coming back in this year. And I like it. I like it a lot. So, yeah. What else for 2020? Let me think for a minute. Let me see what you guys are saying to me. Because I haven't been paying attention to chat. Is there anything you guys want to see in 2020 that you haven't seen yet? What kind of changes do you want to see in the world? Oh, and that did make me think of something. Ooh, homemade chicken noodle soup sounds good. Really good. Yes, I'm the same person as last night. That was funny, though. I have purple and pink hair. This is a wig. I wear wigs. Okay, so, let me just finish the chat Yes, I know. Isn't that funny to say that my natural hair color is purple and green? That's my natural hair color. Not what I was born with, however. I'm not a beet fan either. Ew, I hate beets. You know, that was one of the few vegetables that I was forced to eat as a kid, and I hate beets and peas. I was forced to eat. Hate them. I know beets can be very trendy with gourmet restaurants and stuff. I can't eat beets. No, I can't. I hate them. Okay. Oh, now I just lost my thought. Let me get it back. What was I just thinking about? What was I just going to say? I had it and then it went again. Right, yeah, no, don't talk. I have to get it back. Hmm. Well, one thing that, I don't think this was the thought I had before, but one thing that did just come into my mind. Yeah, I'm attempting a better diet too this year, and unfortunately, there have been a lot of trends that have led toward unhealthy stuff, like Red Bull. It's very trendy to drink energy drinks. It's very bad for you. Sorry, I know no one wants to hear it, but it's true. Terrible for you, okay? So I think we're going to see a little bit more of a trend toward healthy eating, just being healthier people, and eating better, less crap putting into our body. Um, I think we're going to see a little bit more of a focus this year on um, being sort of, more green. Green is the color for tonight. Green with envy. Green with the environment. We got away from it for a while, And I know that, all right, for instance, with me, it was really hard for me to make the transition from Massachusetts, which was very green. We use recyclable bags to go grocery shopping, and it's recycling, 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 and you know, I think. And then I came here where there was absolutely no, no sort of focus on sustainability whatsoever, and but I think overall there's going to be a lot more focus on the environment, sustainable living. So I think some of the trends will be toward vintage, shopping for vintage clothes and that sort of thing. Less waste, you know. All this, we've kind of turned into a society that's use one time and throw it away. And that's just not good for the environment. Nobody wants to hear it, but it's true. We've become a throwaway society. We've forgotten how to repair things. And, if you look back, at vintage things, at whether it's toys or products for the home or whatever it is, they were made with quality. And, having sort of an integrity with your skills, with whatever it was that you did, and building a quality product used to be a big thing. And then it went by the wayside. And now it's just, I think we're going to see more of this, back to sort of quality in our goods and services. And I think it's going to start mattering again. We're going to see businesses that are going to really focus on customer service and the customer experience.
Your audio is, you're not coming through this mic, you're coming through that mic, and it sounds kind of tinny.
Oh,
So I don't know if you can switch it to this mic or something like that. I mean, you can hear you, but it just sounds kind of tinny.
oh, okay. Well, maybe we can focus on that for tomorrow.
Okay, because I listen to the stream last night, and it's, so,
Yeah. Oh, really? Huh.
last night it sounded good.
That's weird. I don't know, can I switch it really quickly and use
I don't know that software.
it? Oh, you know what? No, let's not do this now. It's distracting me now. I'm forgetting everything I wanted to just talk about. Anyway. Oh, Wayne, why'd you do that? Okay. So, yeah, like when I moved here, I had to sort of start throwing everything away again, and I was like, ugh, you know, like I'm throwing all these things away that I feel like should be recycled. Now, however, I have talked to people about recycling, like people in the know who work for recycling plants and things like that. And in some ways, we've been led down a false path because a lot of times they aren't recycling the stuff in the way that we think they are, or um, or they aren't recycling it at all. They're tossing a lot of it. So, you know, I think also you can sort of get to a standpoint too, and actually, not gonna lie, Onision briefly touched upon this, and I agree somewhat. Um, you can also get to a point of moral superiority where you feel like, you know, because you're recycling and you're doing this and you're doing that, you know, you're not making any kind of footprint on the planet, and that's bullshit. We're all making a huge footprint on this planet, and we're all doing damage. And just because you recycle, that doesn't mean that you fixed the problem. No, the problem isn't fixed, and the problem's getting worse and worse in reality. So, you know, yeah, you can't. I think we're all going to have to get to a point where we're more connected so that everyone's problem is your problem. You know, I think that we've developed, in this sort of day and age, we've developed a narcissistic sort of way of thinking. Whereas if it's not my problem, it's not my problem, okay? But we're all connected. So his problem is my problem, and your problem is my problem. You know, and it's like we have to get, with all this connectivity, with the internet, we have become more and more isolated as communities. And we need to become more connected. And my neighbor's problem needs to be my problem. You know, and we need to care again, and we need to be more connected as communities. We have to focus less on separation and more on being connected. So, you know, I would like to see more people helping. You know, my neighbor, if the dogs get into their trash, I'll go out and pick up their trash. You know, why not? I have a minute, and they have, you know, a special needs child, and they're busy, and if I have 5 minutes to spare, why not go pick up their trash for them? You know, why can't we help more? You know, why can't we go out on the street that we live on, and pick up the trash that's on our street? You know, this whole sort of feeling that we're above in some way needs to stop. You know, if we didn't have garbage men picking up the garbage, we would have a big problem very quickly. So there is no job that's too small or too unimportant or that you should look down upon. Okay? So you might look at the garbage bin and think, ew, that's gross, and I would never do that. But trust me, you would notice real fast if they weren't there to do that job, because then we knew that. So I would like to see more appreciating of everyone around us and for the things that they do. And yeah, more connectivity, less separation, more connectivity, no matter what it is. And I think it's the year of the witch. I'm calling it now. It's the year of the witch. I'm seeing much more people become interested in witchcraft and in magic and in the occult. And you're seeing people, who are turning away from their traditional sort of religious values that they were brought up with, and they're looking for something more, something deeper, and something more magical. And I'm seeing it just like, I forget where I was, but I was somewhere, and I was like, looking at all these comments of these women who are all like, oh yeah, 2019 was my year, to sort of discover, my path on the path, like witchcraft. And I was like, wow, it's just like everywhere. Everyone's a witch suddenly. And it's funny. But I think that's only going to grow. And the interest in witchcraft and magic, I think, is going to just explode this year. And I think it's going to become a lot more mainstream. And, you sort of saw companies, embracing that this year with some of their products, or last year rather. And I think this year it's going to explode. And so you're going to see a lot more witchcraft, magic, and that whole thing into the mainstream. And this is going to be the year where really just the floodgates are going to open and it's all going to come in. So yeah, I think there's going to be a lot more interest in magic, divination, the occult, witchcraft, and on a level of they don't even need to necessarily connect it to religious or spiritual beliefs, but just use it as a practice. I think we're going to see a lot of that. Ooh, I made a priest on the class this year. Well, right, and this is what I mean here for the paranormal. Exactly. Hi, honey. Good to see you. Happy New Year. I think we're going to see a lot of that. Whereas, like I say, they're going to connect to the witchcraft practice of witchcraft, not because of their spirituality or religious beliefs, but rather because of the focus on connecting to the earth and nature and the elements and all of that. Yeah. So I think it's going to become really huge, and you're going to see a lot more of it in mainstream everything. Jumping back a little bit, so because I process in a weird way, and I think in a weird way, I do think that there's going to be a lot more focus on the senses. And, with the explosion of what people look at as autism diagnoses, I don't think it's that we have an explosion of autism. I think we just have an awakening to the autism that already existed. So, and all really autism is, let's not forget, is a different way of processing in the brain, okay? So people who have autism might have less filters, where they can't block out certain things and they can't control certain aspects like the mouth sometimes. It's just, it's about different ways of processing and lack of filters in certain areas and whatnot. So with all of that and the focus on senses and sensory, I think that's also going to become more and more into the mainstream, where even people who don't have autism or aren't on the spectrum are going to become more and more aware of their own sensory experience. And they're going to want to either deaden the sensory experience or enhance it one way or the other. And I think there's going to be a lot more of that. So you're going to see a lot more of things with a smell, for instance, or there's going to be focus on quieting, the room, or making it louder. Whatever it is, with all of the different senses, there's going to be a focus on sensory experience. And that's going to just grow and grow, focusing on the sensory experience and making it more whatever. Whether it needs to be lessened or enhanced, there's going to be a lot more focus on sensory experience. So, you're going to see a lot more of these things in the mainstream, which of course I love. And I've always been focused on that. So, it's tactile, it's scent, it's visual, it's auditory, and I think we're also going to start focusing on the senses that we don't talk about, but we all know are there. That's the other thing. Okay, Shan, you just said something that sparked my memory as well. And I hate to even say this, but I do think we're going to see another disaster in the United States this year on the scale, I hate to say it, I hate to talk about it, but I think we're going to see a major, major, major disaster in the United States this year. And I think it's going to be traumatic. And I don't know what it is, and I don't know if it's going to be natural or man-made. I'm not sure yet, but I feel there's going to be a major event in the United States this year. And there's going to be a lot of loss of life, and it's going to be traumatic. However, here's what I want people to hold on to, is that in the wake of such things, it can bring the country together. So that's all I'm going to say. Try to focus on that part of it. And like I was talking about last night, where I said, I would like to see people become more comfortable with death culture and with death and dying and talking about it so that people don't feel isolated and alone when they're grieving and going through that type of experience. I think there are going to be more and more people who are going to start believing in life after death, and believing that the spirit lives on after the body passes. I just completely lost my train of thought. Completely. I just totally lost my fucking train of thought right in the middle of that. Hi, the Paranormal Circle. Thanks for coming in. I completely lost. I'm not even going to cover. I completely fucking lost my train of thought. I don't even remember what I was going to say. It must be the champagne. It'll come back to me. Don't give me a second. Well, anyway, it'll come back to me in a second. But I do think more and more people are going to start believing, that life continues on. And I think that the more that happens, the more it will lessen the fear of death. I think most people have a fear of death. And the fear of death in itself, that's a huge fear. And it can affect your whole life, just like Shan was talking about last night, And Shan, that is not uncommon. Many people have a fear of death, and that in itself can create so much anxiety that it can affect people's lives. And I think that the more that people become aware that life doesn't end when you die, you know, that you have a spirit that continues on in some form, the more that people become aware of that fact and that they really believe it, the more that looking at death as something to be afraid of and dread, it'll actually become like, oh, look, it's a new adventure to look forward to, you know, and something fun and exciting to anticipate. And then hopefully that will lessen people's anxiety about worrying about dying themselves. And then on the flip side, and I think that was going to be my point, is that on the flip side, if you do lose a loved one, or, you know, when we have these horrible catastrophes happen, whether they're natural or man-made, where there's an enormous loss of life, people will be less angry, less sad, you know, less reactive, because they at least know that although the person died in the body, that they're still continues on. Even if they don't know how exactly it continues on. Yeah, that was my point. It came back to me. I'm getting a little buzzed off the one glass of champagne. I told you I'm a lightweight. Are we not getting it yet? So I am streaming earlier tonight than usual, just because I wanted to do it earlier tonight. That's it. No other big reason. It was, you know, I mean, it's January 1st, first day of the year, and it's the new year, New Year's Day. I know a lot of people will be getting back to work tomorrow. I didn't want to do a late night stream tonight. And then speaking on the future for this channel and for me and Wayne and what we're up to, like I say, my goal is to stream, excuse me, I'm belching because of the champagne. My goal is to stream more regularly. I'm going to try to stream every day. I'm not going to be on a regular schedule. I'm sorry, and I know that's going to be frustrating for some, but you're going to have to like, subscribe, and hit the bell, because you just aren't going to know every day when I'm streaming. I can't commit to the same time every day. I just can't. It's going to depend on the day and what I'm up to and what I'm doing. So if you want to join me for these streams, you're going to have to subscribe and hit the bell. Otherwise, you're not going to know. I'm sure. So, yeah, and I like when you guys join me. I like when we can talk and chat and interact. And I noticed last night, like, I reviewed my stream really quickly, and I noticed throughout the stream that I kept looking at the chat and not at the camera. You know why? Because I'm looking at what you guys are saying, because that helps me feel connected to you guys, but then I'm not looking at the camera, so you don't feel connected to me because I'm not making eye contact. And eye contact would be troublesome for me anyway. So I have to focus on looking at the camera, and I think I'm doing a little bit better tonight. Yes, Wayne? Wayne? Is Wayne listening? He's probably going to set those up. So, thank you. I love The Crown, and it's gotten a lot of criticism, but The Crown stays. The wigs stay. I'm not doing The Crown for the wigs, for y'all, as Wade would say, for y'all. I'm doing it for Heather. And we stay. Haters are going to hate, and I'm still going to keep doing my thing. So, yeah. What else? I'm going to be getting more crowns in 2020 and more wigs. And anyone that doesn't like it, sit and spin. I said to Jeffree Star, I said, if I were you, I would stand on the top of my staircase or on the top of my castle in the sky and flip the bird to my haters below. Exactly. Embrace who you are. Be you. Develop your own style. Develop your own likes. And love yourself. Love you. You know, embrace you. And whoever doesn't like it, you know, seriously, it's important to love yourself and to like yourself and to make a statement about who you are and say, this is who I am, and I like me, and I embrace me. And if you don't like it, well, I'm sorry. Then be happy you aren't me. But I'm me, and I'm here to stay. You know, find your spot in this world. Find your tile. Stand on your tile and claim your tile. You are allowed to exist in this world, and you're allowed to like yourself and love yourself. And you're allowed to be who you want to be. You know, as long as you're not hurting anyone or breaking any laws, you are allowed to exist. No one is more important than anyone else. And we are more the same than we are different. And it's time for everyone to stand up and embrace who they are and love themselves. Because the more you can do that, the more you will love your neighbor. Because you will be able to relate to them in one way or another. So, yeah, that's what Ghost Queen has to say today. Fuck your haters. Fuck who criticizes you. You embrace who you are. And that's not to say people shouldn't learn from their mistakes. That's not to say people shouldn't strive toward change and bettering oneself. You should. And I'll tell you what, there is nothing that stays the same. And anything that stays the same for too long, it becomes stagnant, you know, and it becomes boring, you know, it stagnates, you know, everything needs movement and change, you know, for growth. And I think Jeffree Star knows that. That's why he moved out of the pink Barbie house. It was time for him to graduate to a more sophisticated house. And I get it. He needed change. He needed movement to stay alive. And I've always been that way. Too much staying in the same spot, you're going to become stagnant. And there's going to be no movement, and there's going to be no growth. And we need movement and growth to feel alive, to love ourselves, to keep improving. And there's no one who can't improve and who can't grow. No one. Whether you want to or not, that's up to you. So, yeah, Wayne and I have all sorts of differences in the way that we speak. There's one big one he noticed about me, I'm trying to remember what it is, that he always comments on.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. I got it. All right. So for instance, in NOLA, in the New Orleans area, there's a few things that they say, like one that I love, and I actually say it sometimes now myself, is, you heard me? You heard me? Am I saying it right? Wayne? You heard me? Wayne said to me last night in the car, he's like, you're no longer, like, from there. Like, you're from here now. And he's like, you're a transplant. And I said, no, I'm a New Englander, and I stand out like a sore thumb still. And he's like, no, you're starting to blend. I'm like, no, I'm not. And, but yeah, so there's certain, he called me, he's like, now you're a yak.
You're starting to blend in where you at. You're...
But I'm really not. But I love Louisiana, and I love its quirks, and I love its personality and its style, and I felt it the second I came here. You know, I thought I had landed on another planet. I felt like an alien on another planet. But that doesn't mean I don't love it. And I have embraced the differences, and I have embraced Louisiana. And Louisiana has a charm and a style that you won't find anywhere else. It's very unique, and that's part of the reason why I love it. And when I first walked down the streets of New Orleans in the French Quarter, I felt like I was at home. Like, I just was like, oh my God, I love this place, and I love the way it feels and looks and smells and all of it. I love New Orleans. I don't live in the city. I don't live downtown, but my heart will always be down there, part of it, and I will return to visit that piece of my heart that will always be in the French Quarter of New Orleans. I feel at home in New Orleans, and I feel when I'm downtown, it's like it wraps its arms around me, and there are so many spirits down there, you know. And one of the first things I saw in the French Quarter, I'll never forget it, was like ball lightning coming like shooting horizontal down the street, and I was like, oh my God, I am where I belong. So yeah, but the thing that I say that's so different that Wayne sort of reacts to is, and this must be a New England expression, although I never considered it thus, is I say all the time, I'm all set.
Yeah, definitely. We don't say that down here. Like, we would say,
He'll go like, you know,
y'all
like,
good?
are you hungry? And I'll go, no, I'm all set.
We don't say that at all.
And I say that to everyone, and everybody always looks at me cross-eyed.
And it's funny, like, when we went up to New England, and, like, everywhere that I would go, in, like, gas stations, restaurants, anything like that, they would always say, y'all set? Do you need anything else, or y'all set? Or you all set?
Yeah.
And I was like, I just got a kick out of that, because nobody says that down here.
And see, you don't notice those little differences unless, like, you're like us, where you have a northerner and a southerner who have come together.
Down here, it's y'all good?
Right.
You need anything else, or y'all good?
And I notice it too, just like when I go to stores or restaurants or whatever down here, and they ask me, like, you know, even if we're just at, like, Chili's, let's say, and they'll be like, oh, do you want some grated cheese? And I'll go, no, I'm all set. And they're always like...
Or...
It's so funny.
Or you straight? Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm straight.
Yeah.
That's what we say, you straight.
And I say it like on the... I say that a lot, and I never realized it until he pointed it out, but I say it a lot. I'm like, I'm all set. So the little differences are funny. What are you doing here? Who said your name? You just get all fired up. I don't know why. So, lastly, but not least, we saw some fireworks to do tonight. And I will be taking some videos and sharing them. And, oh my God, I have to do the huge smoke bomb. I might actually go live for the huge pink snow bomb. It buzzed. Smoke bomb. I'm missing New England in the snow. Snow bomb. Smoke bomb. I don't drink often. Anyway, but before I go, I am going to share about this because as we do start this new year and we focus more on, I really need to focus more on a lot of things, but part of that is going to be my own personal practice. And I'm going to be doing more things with Wayne as far as practice is concerned. And we did get this journal. It's ripped. I don't know how that happened. But we are going to be doing this together. And this is this daily spell journal. I love the look of it. Remember I told you it looks like my my palette that I got from Manny Moi. Can't put his name normal. But this is A Diary of Enchantments for Every Day of the Year by Patty Swigington, I guess. It's a daily spell journal, and I am going to read to you from the introduction because it's very good. I like it. Okay, so it says, have you ever stopped to think about how much you'd like to change some of the different aspects of your life? Maybe you wish you were luckier in love. Perhaps you'd like to see your career take off. You might be someone whose needs and wants are along more spiritual lines than material ones. Have you, oh, that just sparked my memory. I'm going to write this down so I don't forget. Because I want to mention this before I put it. You might be someone whose needs and wants are along more spiritual lines than material ones. Have you ever hoped to improve your levels of wisdom or intuition, or maybe wanted to delve into a bit of psychic protection for your family? Even more important, at some point, you may have just stopped to think, I wish there was a magic spell for this. Guess what? There probably is. Throughout recorded history, people of every religious background have embraced the use of magic to bring about change and transformation in their lives. While many people include their religion as part of their magical practice, that's not what this book is about. The Daily Spell Journal is about practical magic, spell work that has tangible effects. If you want to incorporate your spiritual beliefs as you're working your way through this book, you're certainly welcome to, but it's specifically designed so that you do not have to. Let's talk about some of the basics you need to keep in mind before we get started, and then it talks about magic month by month, and then it talks about magic by the day, your magical toolkit, and making the magic happen, which I'll read this last part. So, and I did say I was going to talk a little bit more about like planetary magic, and I am. It says, making the magic happen. No one knows for sure how or why magic works. And there are many different theories about the specifics. The important thing is that those of us who practice magical living know that it does work. It does. Whether we've been practicing for 3 weeks or 3 decades, every spell cast is a learning experience, just like learning to ride a bike or bake a cake. If you don't get the results you want the first time you cast a spell, it's perfectly okay to go back and do it again. Just like in all the non-magical aspects of your life, practice makes perfect. With a bit of work and some focus, you can make all kinds of things happen in your life with magic. And I agree. And January 1st is a spell for new beginnings. And guess what? You use a purple candle and your favorite incense. And it says, this is the season when many of us make resolutions. But sometimes, even with the best of intentions, it can be hard to stick to them, which we've already discussed. And I haven't read, this is the first time I'm reading this live with you. I haven't read it yet. This spell is designed to kickstart your year of change and transformation. The purple candle represents empowerment and ambition. Light the candle and use the flame to light your incense. Watch as the candle flame dances before you and say, it's a time for change. It's time to begin anew. It's a time to be a new person. It's strong and secure and confident. I'm camping it up. These are the things I will achieve. List the things you will accomplish in the next 12 months using active voice rather than passive. And when you're done, blow out the candle, but let the incense burn away on its own. And then it has a place to list spell notes, as you can see here. Wait for my camera to focus. But you get the picture, okay? And I will say it's very important to keep a magical journal and to keep notes if you are going to be involved with witchcraft, magic, spellcasting, etc. You do want to keep a journal regularly and record what you are doing, because what will happen is some things will work and some things will not, and you will wonder why. So your notes will help you to reflect on what worked and what didn't, and you'll be able to figure out why. Okay? Very good, Teresa. I like that rhyme. Hocus pocus, it needs to focus. That's right, camera. But us too. So anyway, two things that I just thought of while I was talking about that. I do want to talk more in this year about symbolism and how that plays into your life in a magical way, whether you are aware of it or not, whether you're conscious of it or not. I do want to talk about the conscious and the subconscious mind, and I want to talk about fears. And, you know, a lot of people have a lot of fears when it comes to magic and witchcraft, and, you know, they connect it to something evil and bad, and they have a lot of negative associations with witches in general. And I'm going to talk more about that this year, okay? But something I did want to touch upon quickly and briefly before I go is for Jeffree Star. I doubt he will see this, but nonetheless, I am going to put out a little bit of advice in his direction. Now that you have reached this level of success and you have found your place in the world, and as I say, I completely support him, love him, think he's fantastic. But here's what I would like to see him do with that success, is I would like to see him get involved in more altruistic work. Look, we all love to indulge in opulence and wealth and success and glitter. But glitter is sparkly and it's shiny and it's beautiful and we all love it and we all want some, but guess what? It's killing the planet. It's very bad for the planet. And now you have to get ethical glitter because glitter is so bad for our oceans and for our creatures of the planet and for the planet itself. And if you look into, for instance, say the mica industry, which is where you get your sparkles in makeup and your shine, there's a very dark history connected to it. And I will say this, that is life. Life is duality. It's all about the light and the dark. And one can't exist without the other. So, you can't be as white as the driven snow. You can't be perfect. And you can't be pure. You can't. No one can. Okay? it's funny that the people who try to portray themselves as angels are usually more demonic than the ones who say, look at how dark and evil I am. You can start seeing the dichotomy of like, what'd you say? Wayne? Yeah. It's usually those who portray themselves as white as the driven snow that usually have had a couple dogs piss on that snow here and there. And you definitely don't want to eat it. And the ones who portray themselves as Satan himself or Satan's own child are maybe not so scary. Anyway, you get my point. You get my drift. Get it? Drift? No. No drift? Anyway, but seriously, for Jeffree Star, I'd like to see him do something altruistic with that money. He says he's turning his barn, which was originally for horses, into a beauty barn. And while that is fabulous, and I can't wait to see it just like everyone else, with all this focus on the external and how we look, I think we have to stay in touch with that isn't what's important. What's important isn't how you look, and this is just a shell you wear. What's important is who you are on the inside and what you do. And I would like to see Jeffree show us that side of himself, because I'm sure it's there. I'm sure he has an altruistic side. I'm sure his focus isn't only on the exterior. And this is a mask. He's presenting you a mask of himself. And we all love masks. And they're fun to wear. But behind the mask is a human being. And he's only shown you a few glimpses of who he is behind the mask. And I would like to see more of that. I would like to see more of the real him. And I would like to see, if he didn't have that altruistic sort of loving, caring side of himself, he wouldn't have those little dogs, and he wouldn't be as upset as he gets when they pass away. So I think there's a heart in there, and I would like to see him do some helping, with maybe animals, for instance, and see some donations to animal rescue centers, and maybe do some fundraising and whatnot. That's some directions we want to go into, and I would like to see him do that as well. So you have to give back. You have to give back. When you succeed and you have all those riches, you have to give back. There has to be balance. So that's my advice to him. And what else? I think that's it. I think I touched on everything. And if I forgot something, I'll be back tomorrow with a new wig. Anyway, I love you guys. Yeah, and you know what? He is a little bit of a bragger. And you know what? So am I. I get it. I get it. And I don't, but here's the thing, I really do get it. And it's like, if you have spent long periods of your life being poor, then, when you're not poor, it's like fun for you and you do want to brag about it. So I get it where he's at. But, and he's showing off, and I'm sure a lot of it is snarky. I'm sure he does want to brag to his haters, You know, I would hold on to that as well if I were he. You know, he does get a lot of hate, okay? And I'm sorry, I don't care how much you villainize anyone. Um, Everyone has feelings. There's nobody that's like, well, I think narcissists are the closest thing to human evil that exists. And aside from narcissists, let's say, everybody has feelings and emotions and can get their feelings hurt. You know, and he's no different. And at the end of the day, he is still just a human being. All of us are just human beings at the end of the day. We're all the same in a lot of ways. I'm getting worse, worse and worse scratches taking out. Oh my God, it's so bad. Anyway, um, yeah. At the end of the day, we're all human beings. We're more alike than we are different. That's my main message for today. At the end of the day, we're all human beings, and we're more alike than we are different. I don't care what your skin color is, or what your religious practice is, or what your economic status is, whether you're poor or you're rich. I don't care what your political standing is, if you're a left or a right. I don't care what you focus on as being a difference. At the end of the day, we are all more alike than we are different. And that is the focus that will bring us together. And that is the focus that no one wants you to have. And I'll talk about why another time. I'm Martha Paranormal. Thank you. Happy New Year to you as well. And thanks once again for joining me. I hope you all had a great day. Hope you had a great New Year. Hope you had a fantastic holiday season. Start saving for the next one because they are expensive. And I hope to be here tomorrow, and I hope you will join me then. Have a good night. Have a good sleep. Don't let the demons bite. Tell your loved ones everything you want to say today, because you never know which day is your last day before theirs. And be good, but not too good. And I will see you soon. Cheers! Happy New Year! Here's to a fantastic 2020. And I hope you'll all join me on my personal journey. Love you guys. See you tomorrow.